Hello and good Wednesday to you. This is the Long in the Boot podcast. I'm your host, Glenn Long, and we're doing a mini episode before we do the major episode next week. And today I am joined in the studio by the lovely Deborah Long.
Good morning.
Good morning, otherwise known as Deb.
Yes. Please don't call me Deborah. That's people that don't know me.
How about Glenn's wife?
No, I don't like that either.
Okay.
Mrs. Glenn Long, that actually bothers me a little bit.
Does it?
I have a name. I'm a
Feminist.
person. No, I'm not that either. Not exactly.
Sounds like a feminist to me. Just saying.
Yeah.
Anyway, if you're listening to Long in the Boot, we do want to remind you there is a website, www.longintheboot.com, and you can get episodes, the most current as well as the ones that came out before. And I have a phone number that you can call and leave a message for Long in the Boot. And I'd really appreciate to hear from some of you and love to play some of the clips on the air or on the air. I don't know if it's air when it's a podcast, over the ether. The phone number is 337-502-9011. And if you have anything interesting that's going on in the Longville-Ragley area, that would also be very nice. I would be more than happy to, let it be known.
Promote your
if you're selling
business.
a set of used tires or something, I don't want to know that.
No, we're not doing that. It's not
it's not the Tradio. But if you have something interesting that's going on, or you have a family reunion you want to remind people over, it can almost be anything local. I'd be more than happy to share
something going on at the rec center.
Sure,
or
if you've got something big or some kind of sign up for some type of sports or something, also you can let me know, and I'll be more than happy to talk about it on the air, because I do really want to try to keep this somewhat regional, I guess, and somewhat local at the same time. Maybe the mini episodes could be the ones that focus on local things.
Sure.
I do have an invitation out to one of the candidates for constable. I forget the districts, but I can find out.
5 and 6, maybe.
I don't think they're concurrent. I think it's like 5 and 7 or 4 and 6. There's a number not in the middle.
I'm sure somebody can correct.
But I'm sure that the candidate could probably clue me in if I get him on the phone and talk to him, and then I would be more than happy to hear what he has to say about the local area as well, not just necessarily the.
You can go to the Ragley Longville Stay Informed page. And,
it's the Citizens of Ragley Longville. That's the Facebook page, I believe, for local stuff. And anyway, so good morning to y'all. Good morning. Like it's a radio show.
It's your training. You can't help it.
Well, it is morning, technically.
It is for us, yeah.
But it's morning tomorrow.
It's whatever time it wants to be for the people who are tuning in.
I can do weather. Louisiana weather's easy.
It is. Actually, we're having some nice rain this week, though. The drought has been a little rough this whole week and the week before.
Those of you with gardens know that. You have
had to water quite a bit.
Tremendously. Anyway, wanted to also let you know that we have a Facebook page for Long in the Boot podcast. And if you want to listen, you can go there too. The link is there. And just give it a listen. Tell your friends. Tell your neighbors. Like my page. Got to get those numbers up. The revenue stream. It's all about the revenue.
The revenue you're putting out.
That's right.
There's no revenue coming in. Don't let him con you.
Oh, people are sending me thousands of dollars to not talk on a podcast.
I think tens of dollars.
We're both, of course, teachers. Deb is a teacher, and I am a teacher at a local school. And just to let parents know, if you have kids going into school, everything's still fluid. Don't expect any solid answers on a lot of things. Yeah. There's a few things they can give you solid answers on, but they are all trying really hard. This kind of caught people. Everybody kind of got lulled into a sense of complacency because they thought the virus was going away, I think.
I think so, too.
It looked like it was. It looked like it was dropping down, and it looked like certain areas of the state weren't going to get hit with the COVID-19 virus. And, of course, that's just not the case. It has definitely
raised its ugly head again.
Here. And, just to kind of keep it in perspective, when we closed schools, we had hardly any cases at all in the area. Friday, March 13th.
Our wedding anniversary.
Schools closed. The number's far higher now.
Oh, yeah.
And we're going into school. And as a teacher, I'm speaking for myself, I'm a little nervous.
Oh, I'm apprehensive. Absolutely.
I'm fat. I have high blood pressure. I have occasional bouts of asthma.
Over 55.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah,
And but I have a lovely head of hair. as everyone knows. And
Don't lie to your people.
well, if they know me, they know I'm lying. So it's okay. It's not a lie when people already know the truth. What is that when you do that? Is it still a lie?
Truthiness?
Well, if you know that the people you're telling the lie to know that they'll know up front that it's a lie, is it then a lie or is it just something to say?
It's hyperbole.
Is that what it is?
I suppose.
Sure. Okay.
All right.
Grammar teacher.
Well,
Yeah.
hyperbole.
When in Rome.
I don't think that's appropriate here.
Anyway, so just kind of keep that in mind, and please, patience.
Yeah. Thank you if you're listening again.
Yeah. Oh, yes. And,
Wow.
and again, thank you. I was looking at my little numbers, and I would like to see a few more people listen, but yeah.
The first episode was really
But it's still
better than you expected.
It was, and
Yes.
I think that's just kindness.
I think maybe so. So, in other words, you better get better now.
I'm doing my best.
Okay. So, move on.
Yeah. Moving on. What have you been up to this week? Haven't seen you much. How you been?
I've been working outside quite a bit, working in that bathroom now that the remodel 2.0 5 years later is done,
And we can use it for showers again.
and we can actually use the shower.
So
since the first
all's well
contractor
that
did a
ends
horrible
well.
job. Yes.
yeah, we had a contractor many years ago, and please, just to let you know, if you really be careful.
Oh, please be careful out there. And I know our contractor horror story is probably minor. I mean,
I've heard far worse.
$7,000 the
I've heard
first
way
time
worse.
around is not a huge amount of money, but it
And
is
I can't
to
complain
us.
too much. I mean, we live in a manufactured home.
Yes.
And of course, that plays part of it, but just bad, shoddy workmanship will do far more damage and
it
end up costing
really
you a fortune. So,
Yeah. And a second time.
and I will say and I'm going to go ahead and say it, the folks that did it this time did a good job. I really like it. And it's
give
aggressive construction. They're on Facebook. Give them a call. And I was very pleased, not only with the work they did, the speed in which they did it,
Yes.
and also constantly asking questions. And the bid was pretty much exactly what it came to,
Yep.
with a little bit extra for the extra work they had to do because of the horrible work that was done by the previous
First time
contractor.
around, a lot more damage. So aggressive construction, yes. Anytime you have strangers in your house doing work, it's a messy business. And they even repaired something that they didn't get right the first time. They took it out and redid it so that the job was done correctly.
And I can tell that this time it's done properly.
So I did that. I did my bathroom, repainted it after they got done, cleaned everything because, construction requires dust, and there was dust
a lot of
everywhere.
dust.
Worked in the garden.
But you did a great job cleaning that up, by the way.
Thanks. I appreciate the so.
Well, I was incapacitated.
You
The other
have
story
been,
this week was I did something horrible to my baby toe. And
it was a tragic pinky toe injury.
it's somewhat embarrassing as a big, large man to admit that something so small could just take you out of the game.
Yeah,
but,
that's put you on your back for 3 days almost.
it was pretty bad. And
Still recovering.
I still can't put on normal shoes. I can go out in slippers, and I have one pair of toe shoes that I can squeeze my big giant pinky toe. It looks like my big toe. It's just on the other side, which, by the way, is not a good look for a foot.
After Googling and reading through the types of injuries, you know how terrifying Googling an injury can be. I do believe it was a bone bruise.
Or it's cancer of the toe. It's one or the other.
Okay.
Any other things we did this week before I talk about next week's show? Let's see. Oh, a couple recommendations, I guess.
Oh, yeah. I do want to recommend the two things that actually we watched three things. We kind of got on a theme. I don't think we intended to do that.
We hit a theme because the movie Greyhound, which I had been waiting for with much excitement, didn't get to come out at the theaters because of the wonderful virus that we're all enjoying so much.
Yes, Tom Hanks was really
and it's called Greyhound. It's based on a book by C.S. Forster, who is well known for his naval epics. And it was based on a book called The Good Shepherd.
Written in 1955, so after World War II.
And it's about the case of it's fictionalized, but it's very well researched. Mm-hmm. And it's about a destroyer trying to protect a convoy in the Atlantic Ocean in an area called the Pit, which is where air cover can no longer cover
Black Pit,
the convoy.
They had, 48 hours of no air coverage?
Right.
Or 72 maybe?
And there were only, in the story, at least in the movie, there were only like 4 destroyers. And it was a big convoy. So trying to protect them from U-boats at that time, the equipment was not great. In modern subs, it's phenomenal. But back then they had just developed all this technology to find submarines. and it was still iffy. And it was also bitterly cold in the movie too, which made
at one point, yeah, that really was.
Everybody looked cold. Nobody looked comfortable.
It was as if you're going along and things are really bad, and then what happens? It gets cold.
Makes it worse
icy,
every time.
Frozen. Yeah, that just threw in another difficulty to the level of problems that were going on.
But great movie. Tom Hanks did a great job. I like the fact that it dove in. It had a few minutes of backstory, but
to give you a little bit of character development for Tom Hanks's character.
To give him some humanity.
Krause?
Well, in the book, he's Krause. I don't know. Was he Krause?
Yeah, I think he was.
Was he?
The ship was the Keeling, the USS Keeling, I think.
Yes.
And then Tom Hanks,
but in this, the Keeling was the boat from the actual, from World War II.
Yeah,
he was on the Greyhound.
He was on the Greyhound. Yes, there you go.
Hence the title.
The title
of the name. Greyhound.
I appreciate your correction. Did you Google that?
I did actually. I have it sitting right here on my computer.
Well,
so I can look smart.
I had read an interview with him, and he had fell in love with the book. He said as soon as he picked it up and started reading, he recognized immediately that it was going to be a great story for the big screen.
Navy movies, when they're done right, man, they're just so good. There's something about the ocean and the vastness of it that changes things. I guess, World War II movies, or any good, well-made war movie, I wish there was a better word for it. It can just make your day. There are great ones. There's been so many.
Yeah.
Some of them in the 60s and 70s kind of reflected the time period they were made, but they still had great movies. One of my favorites is still Kelly's Heroes. Yes. It's definitely in the top 5 always.
That's definitely character driven.
It is. And it's comedy. There's so much. There's a lot of comedy. This is
less character driven.
There's no comedy in this, really.
You know what? They did put a little theme of it.
Minor though,
because trying to get food.
Yeah,
and
trying to get him to eat.
I think that's almost and get something to. In the background, his chair was always there. He never got to sit down in that chair,
right?
Until there was a point in the movie that it had to happen.
I like the fact that in the movie they made the command deck the right way. It was small. It was crowded with people. It's not a big room, and he had to go back and forth a lot in the 2 doors on the sides to be able to see what was going on.
Yeah.
And literally drive the ship. There were times where, the turn had to be made just right.
It was an intense,
very intense movie, and definitely you need to see it.
Don't get thrown off by the terminology at the beginning. There was a point at first where I felt like, wait a minute, I couldn't hear what he was saying. It's hard to tell what he just said. And the military or the naval terminology that goes on you will get past that. You don't need to know.
If you don't, and if you're a history buff, you're going to
probably know that. But when he barks orders and the orders continue down the line, and men begin acting and doing their job that they are obviously well trained for, it tells you what was being said. You already know, so don't get thrown off by that.
You definitely need to see Greyhound, and if you're a Prime watcher, there's a movie on Prime called Admiral.
Yes,
not the Admiral.
No,
it's just
don't use that
Admiral.
article adjective, the.
If you use the, you're going to get some Asian movie that has nothing to do with what I'm about to tell you about. But Admiral is a good movie about a period in Dutch history where they were fighting the English in a series of wars, mostly over, trade. The Dutch, that was their business, and England thought it was their business. Yeah. And so you had a lot of...
pushy Brits.
Well, there was just a lot of animosity there, which is really hilarious.
The Dutch had animosity with a lot of people.
Well, they were fighting the French. They were fighting the Spanish. They had been occupied by the Spanish. The English were attacking them. But they were also having their own problems between people who wanted a monarchy again and people who wanted a republic.
Yeah, there was a lot of
it was a lot going on.
Yeah, and then you had the only major name, I guess, in the movie, Charles.
Charles Dance.
Yeah.
He's Tywin Lannister from the Game of Thrones, and he played Charles II. And he chewed the scenery like he does in every single thing he does.
When the young naive prince comes and approaches him to thinking he's going to play politics with King Charles, he eats his lunch.
And that part of the story was really good, but really the focus was this guy Admiral de Ruyter, who is a hero. He's a legendary hero in the Netherlands, and also pretty well known by anybody who studies naval tactics because he created a lot of them himself. He was an incredible sailor. He sailed all over the world. When you go and look at the list of places he visited, and we're talking the wooden sailing ships. This is not a time where sailing was safe.
And since the Dutch did the movie and it was their history, they really, the look of the film, actually the look of both films, the cinematography, the director Aaron Schneider that did Greyhound, he worked on Titanic. Both movies, the naval strategy and the contrast of time periods.
But the scenery in De Ruyter is, again, phenomenal.
It's beautiful.
When you see movies, a lot of times with that period, you see 3 or 4 ships. You don't ever see anything from a distance. And they did a really good job doing overhead shots and things that really made the movie phenomenal. And
this would have been amazing on a big screen too. It was meant for big screen.
And you gotta read subtitles.
Yeah,
it is on Prime
until the English come in. Scene.
Well, if the English are in a scene, they're going to be talking, English. And
probably better than us.
Probably so. Certainly better than the Dutch. And it's really just a phenomenal thing to watch the ships interacting in the battle. So
the strategies that go on and the similarities between the two, and yet the contrast between the time periods and the vessels that they're on. But at the core, what
it's the same
crews
thing.
did in both are exactly the same.
Really, it's kind of neat to see how when you watch them back to back, and we did.
Yeah, it was unintentional, but it
turned out to be just a good choice anyway. So, De Ruyter on Prime, you should check it out if you have Prime. I mean, Admiral. It was called De Ruyter when it came out in the Netherlands.
Mr. Long, why don't you just attach a link on IMDb to both of those on your show notes?
Well, I'd have to go do stuff.
What else are you doing?
Nursing this horrible baby toe.
Oh, come on. I think a week now, and you can, begin to let that go. When I posted about Greyhound, I came to learn that a former coworker's husband, who is a local, was actually an extra in the ballroom scene at the beginning of Greyhound. Because, Louisiana citizens, they go out and they do things now. It's amazing.
So I'm assuming then that scene was shot like in New Orleans or something?
Yeah, I do not know. I hadn't asked her that, but that's a good question to ask.
It would seem like that's a possibility.
That is a possibility.
There's a lot of stuff that gets shot in New Orleans now.
Yeah. Well,
not now.
Maybe not now. Okay. Pre-COVID. Pre-March 13th. Well, before the pandemic word was used.
Those are our recommendations for a couple of movies if you have time and you want to enjoy something and be on the edge of your seat a little bit.
Oh, my Lord, yeah. Greyhound,
especially in the case of Greyhound.
Actually, they were both really tense.
They were tense movies, but Greyhound definitely had far more intensity to it because the ocean was not, in Admiral, the ocean is not part of the story exactly. Like, it's pretty calm most of the time they're fighting.
Yeah.
In Greyhound, the ocean is a character of its own. It's constantly battling them. I mean, all that salt spray freezing on everything.
Yeah.
And that looked really painfully cold.
I hate cold. That's cold. Why I like to live in the South. So yes, I agree.
Well worth watching.
And don't get upset that there are subtitles. Just suck it up and read.
You can do it.
You need to read every day.
Everybody should be reading. In fact, if you can't get your kids to read, that's the best way to do it. Is get them to sit in front of a TV and show and watch it. And
don't turn off the captions.
Leave the captions on. Make them read while the captions are on.
That's it.
But maybe then they won't watch the movie. They're too busy trying to read.
And then you have to watch it again. Okay. Nothing wrong with reading a book again.
That's true. All right. So there we go.
Do your local plug again.
Well, again, the local plug.
And the number. You only said the phone number one time.
That's true. 337-502-9011. That's 502-9011 for Long in the Boot.
There you go.
The website again, www.longintheboot.com. And there is a Facebook page. Go to my personal page if you know me personally. If you know me personally. Yeah. Otherwise, get on Facebook and just search for Long in the Boot, and it's there. The podcast is now, I believe, running on Spotify, Apple. I think it's on Pandora. And if it's not, it will be Google Podcast and even on Facebook because I put a link up there. So
there you go. There's no reason not
to listen unless you're just bored to tears. And
all right. Well,
why would you be bored to tears? The lovely Deborah is in the room. There's no reason to be bored.
Right?
That's right. She's delightful. And the dog stayed quiet the entire time.
They did.
Which is nice.
That is one thing we didn't mention again is the puppy.
Oh, we got a new
has
puppy.
Been ongoing. Our
Though
quarantine.
there's more to
puppy.
come on the puppy. I'm still ambivalent.
Yeah, well, she's learned to open.
She's a sweet girl.
Cat and dog bins.
She learned to open the bins where the dog food was with her little hands.
They are currently duct taped closed. I'm going to have to get some kind of
She does have hands too.
device. Yeah, she does.
She's a what was it again? A Jack Russell Terrier crossed with a Chihuahua.
So we've been living with dachshunds for the last 10 years. They
They're-
have short little Tyrannosaurus Rex arms,
And they're
so
pretty
they-
low key dogs.
Yeah,
you give them a
they're-
blanket and they're busy. They're just going to get under it.
After they're 1 or 2 years old. Bella is still
She's-
8 months old, 7, 8 months.
Yeah, and she's manic.
Yeah, she is a little manic. She's doing well at her potty training.
She is doing well.
Because we're teachers and, pandemic, we've had some time to work with her. So,
Well, we would have anyway. We would be off right now.
yes.
But
All right.
we'll see how everything goes. Next week, the topic, we're going to be talking about the news, and not just the news, not just that, but what happened to the news?
Yeah.
What's going on with the news? I don't know
In the
about you,
70s.
but I think the news actually causes more problems than it actually does anything else. I don't think the information we get from news today is worth the time, the price of admission, especially from the media, the big media especially. But that includes a lot of different.
Yeah, so we'll go back
lot
to
of different
the
things.
70s and take a look at
Talk about what happened to the news
evolution.
when companies began purchasing television stations and the laws were changed somewhat. News and entertainment began to merge.
Yes.
And that's really what the topic's about. And then we'll talk also about 24-hour news. Is it good or bad? And we all have our opinions, and well, you're going to hear mine. And also about local news and, how local is local news.
Yeah.
If you put a clock to it and you time out the local stories versus the national or world stories on your local news, you'll be kind of surprised to discover a lot of times that the national stuff takes more airtime than the local stuff, which is not the way local news used to be. You used to get a lot of information from local news.
Yeah.
And
Because it was relevant to us.
right.
And
It was local.
Yeah. All right.
So that's pretty much it. That's the mini-sode for this week. And next week we'll have the main
A full episode.
Yeah, it'll be episode 3 of the Long in the Boot podcast.
Will you have a guest host? Or are you going to run it on your own? Or
Well, that's up in the air right now.
All right.
We'll have to see. And
call in, folks.
and of course, I'll be joined by either Bryant Habits or the lovely Deborah.
All right.
There we go.
Yeah. Guess that depends on schedules.
No, I was going to have y'all duke it out.
Oh, well, I'm older and
But we're getting ready to start school, and Mr. Habits is also a teacher, so he may, and he has the addition of 2 little deductions
Yes.
running around at the house.
Yeah, that's
So there's they have a busy schedule right
they
now.
do have a busy schedule. So,
But he may be in as well.
and me, I'm a trapped audience here.
I will let you go. You can take the ankle monitor off tomorrow.
Thank you. I appreciate your
337-502-9011 for Long in the Boot. Y'all have a nice week. We'll see you soon.